Hello, everyone. Leah Steinkirk here with Prowess Project for today's live. Just getting us all set up. Today, we're talking about 5 projects for online business managers. And I want to break down how you guys can build these offers and what could go into them. So as we typically get started, if you guys can put into chat for our one-word opener, what is one project that you guys like to do this time of year with the holidays coming up? I know for lots of us, we're multitasking like crazy, whether it's work, home, community involvement, school involvement. So I'd love to know, what is your favorite part of preparing for those holidays? For me, I would be putting in wrapping presents. That is my favorite project. I love, I get a little nerdy with the making sure the tags are all cute, all of that stuff. Oh, decorating. That's a great one. I was getting out all my gnomes over the weekend to put on the mantle. That's also one of my favorite parts. Okay, keep throwing those in there. I want to see what other favorite activities that you have. Like I said, my name is Leah Steinkirk with Prowess Project. I'm the COO here, helping with all the back-end operations, working with a lot of you as online business managers. And today we're going to be talking about 5 projects for online business managers. So whether you are getting started, looking for things to build testimonials, looking for those first projects with customers in order to leverage those into long-term relationships, or an experienced OBM that's looking to really dive into your niche and specialize, we're going to be talking through those. So, okay, keep throwing those projects that you love to do around the holidays into the chat. I love seeing those. And if you have any questions as we're talking along the way for these 5 projects, please drop those into chat also. What I want to be breaking this down into is mainly, and the reason I asked about the holiday things, right, is that we love that part of it, but some people see that as things they want to avoid, right? If someone put in there putting up the holiday lights, that is not me. To me, that is a pain point when it comes to getting started with holiday projects. And so that's what we're going to kind of be targeting when we're looking at projects that we can bring to our CEOs or potential clients, is what are those pain points, right, that they might be having that we could then step in and help with. So we talk a lot about doing interviews with potential clients, CEOs, people in your network. And when you're doing that, you're hearing a lot of the friction and the pain points that they have during the day. And I know a lot of that OBM brain goes to, oh gosh, I can see how I could get in there. I could fix that for them. I could streamline that with some automations. I could add some AI and improve all the systems, and they would be, everything would be smooth sailing. But that doesn't necessarily translate into getting that CEO or potential client to bring you on to start helping them. So that's where we're going to be breaking things down today. We're going to be looking for the projects that solve those pain points. And we're going to be trying to demonstrate 2 things. One, we want to be showcasing our experience and all of that we can bring to their business by hiring an OBM. And 2, we're meeting them with their time and their budget demands. So just coming at them with like, these are all the offerings and I could come in and I could work ongoing, their mind goes to, I'm going to have to train someone and I'm going to have to pay for this. So they first want to build up the confidence in us to bring us on into their teams. So that's what these projects can help do. These are short-term engagements that will help build up that confidence and build up that relationship and demonstrate your skills. And then they will also meet these potential clients where they are in their budgets. So a lot of times these CEOs, they're just not ready to make that investment. Maybe they see it more as a risk in their business. And so they're looking for those results on their money and their time. And that's what we want to highlight in these projects. So I want to break the projects down into 5 key areas. So automation, operations, demand generation, website review, and then social media. So we're going to talk through each one of those. Like I said, if you have questions, please throw those into the comments. But let's go into the first one, and that is automation. There's a lot of discussion around this because we could talk about it as far as automation, or how do we infuse AI into someone's business. But simply what we would be listening for in that conversation is where they're having pain points in work that might be repetitive tasks or things that they hate doing that are month over month, day over day, that sort of thing. So we would be sitting down with them to have a discussion on looking at their business and finding those areas that are a lot of manual processes and taking up time. We could then help them map out where we could infuse automation to increase efficiencies, implement an automation tool. So this again might be out of their scope of knowledge of even how to do that. So we would look at that business, set up a strategy, implement that automation tool. So simply it could just be looking at the forms on their website. Are they taking a manual report and then manually entering that data into their CRM? And we could set up automations through Zapier to make that process smoother. And then that also would allow us to do some back end looking at how do you then give them back more data through that automation process on what is actually happening in that manual process, and then provide that information back to them along with training documentation for their team. So the benefit here is that you have given them back some time in their day by automating this manual process. You've come in with your expertise and looked at their business from that aspect of here's where you're losing time and possibly money. These leads might not be getting captured and they're not being answered in a timely manner. So therefore you could be losing revenue. And you're allowing them to get back to their zone of genius and their craft. Let me know if you have any questions as we go through these. So that's the first one, is automation, setting up with them that conversation, implementing it, and then providing them back some strategy and training documentation on how this helped their business. And you can see that how if you were to help solve one manual process and give them back that time, that would kind of be where they would be like, let's look at all the other areas of my business where I could do this. So if you have ideas where you're like, I would love to take this automation and solve that problem, like examples of that, you want to talk through them, throw those into the comments. They might spark ideas for other people as well. Okay, number 2 that we're going to talk about is in the operations area would be simply creating a dashboard. So this would be a one-time project. Again, you would be sitting down with that CEO, potential client, listening to how they might have a lot of data in their business, but they don't have the time or the understanding of how to take all of this and get back better results from it. A lot of times CEOs can get caught up in that process of success starts coming at them, and they don't have a good process to look at it from that 30,000 foot level. So setting up a dashboard can really help solve this pain point. Here, what you would be doing is, again, sitting down with them, taking it from that strategic level look at their business, but them helping them see where applying a dashboard to a certain area of their business. And I would recommend for a project, you're only looking at one area of their business. So let's say you just look at their marketing leads that are coming in from a certain campaign that they've done, and then setting up a dashboard around that experience. So again, you would be demonstrating for one aspect of their business what it looks like to set up these tools, create that custom dashboard, and then providing back a lot of a strategy around that of insights that you saw and what further information, if we could gather that, would then strengthen their business and their business offering. So there you're saving them not only the time to have to go through this data, but also bringing in potential revenue that then would allow, because they'll be able to look at it faster and make better decisions on the behaviors of their clients. Okay, so that was number 2, creating the dashboard. Number 3 is around demand generation. So again, we're talking project. We want to just keep it simple. So we'd be looking at setting up maybe one marketing campaign for a client. This would be, especially if they're talking to you about needing marketing help, but they're not ready to bring on someone to really help come and streamline the operations around their marketing. One marketing campaign project would be a great place to start. So you could just simply take a look at their list, looking at the segmentation, optimizing that, making sure that all of that is getting captured and that the people are being tagged correctly to get them to the right places in their business. Oh, thank you, Jesse. We got a note here about Facebook. I will try and get over there as I'm talking. Thank you. So one thing with the marketing campaign, what you would want to be doing is looking at all of that, how that is segmented, then creating maybe their next email series, creating that campaign with all of those improvements built in, the tagging, the segmentation, all of that, bringing it back into their CRM system, and then providing analytics on that specific campaign. So if that makes sense, that you wouldn't be doing one for everything. You would be doing it specifically for that one campaign in their business to give them an idea of what it looks like to work with you. Okay. All right. Next, I want to talk about websites. Yes, we will email this out. Usually you can look to find the reposts of these in our newsletter. So keep a look out for that. Okay, so then for the next one, number 4, that would be for the website. So we would be doing a website audit. That would be the project that you would be offering the CEO. And that pain point conversation could look like, yes, I had this, maybe they spent a lot of money building their website. Maybe they've done it in the past. They've now gotten busy and they've added so many things, or people have come in and help with different parts of it that they're not even sure that it's really speaking to their brand anymore, or they're not just sure how that user experience is going. So you could offer to come in and do an audit of their website to look at the user experience. You would then conduct a comprehensive review focusing on all of those UX features, making sure that the load times, all of the places that people are clicking are working, links are not broken, and then a review of, is it still in line with their vision and the branding guide for their company. So then you could then take a look at parts of it, depending on the scope of this project, looking at, do you need to redesign certain pages? Do you need to change calls to action, make sure different things are working? You could do this as an overview of their website and then provide them back a plan saying, hey, here's all the things I found. Or it could be a bigger project where you're saying you're actually going to go in and make some of these changes. And in addition to that, you could be looking at the SEO attached to the website and taking a look at that, making sure all of the content, anything new, anything old, it's all following the current SEO that they need to drive to their user and their target market. So this could be a huge benefit to the CEO. Again, they may be, especially when businesses get into that busy launch phase, a lot could have been added to the website and they're not quite sure it's still working in the way that they want it to. So this can really be a time saver. It can bring in additional leads, bring in additional revenue that you could really show that ROI on this kind of project. Okay, number 5, social media. You could do a social media overhaul. So similar to the website, you could take a look at their media channels and you could review all of those and make sure that they are as effective as possible, checking the links in certain profiles, making sure that all the messaging is consistent, making sure that the strategy is all the same, taking a look at all of that, and then developing a guide for them moving forward. You could, depending again on the level of this project, you could either be just providing strategic overview, or you could be doing some things to actually help them improve this process overall and build in changing that into the project. So this definitely could benefit them in bringing in new leads and engaging their audience. All of that could be tracked in metrics. So again, you'll be able to show your ROI on this project. Okay, so those were the 5. And I realized I talked through them very quickly. So automation, looking at how can we automate a manual task in their business. Operations, creating a dashboard for the CEO or entrepreneur. Next, number 3 is demand generation. We could set up one specific marketing campaign, enhancing that overall workflow in their process, and then documenting both the process as well as any strategic findings that you have from that campaign. 4 was website audits and any kind of improvements that go along with that. And 5 is community engagement or doing a social media overhaul. So we're looking at the way in which all of their social channels are in alignment. Any questions there? And again, I know I talked through that really fast, but I wanted to give you guys an idea of the consistent ways that you could then help that CEO. Again, the process really would be looking at their pain points and then creating something that addresses that back, meeting them where they are. So great question that these could be huge projects very quickly based on scope creep, one. So you would really want to be making sure that you set up those parameters in the beginning of exactly what you're doing. So it could be making sure they're set up so that it's just a strategic review. So it is a conversation. You're sitting down, you're listening to them, seeing what they need. It is looking at their business, and maybe you say how many hours you would be spending doing that. Like, I'm going to take 1 week, I'm going to do a 5-hour review. You would be setting those parameters and then saying either, I'm going to provide back a report with 3 things you can do to definitely make a bigger impact in your business. Like, be very specific on what that would be and then how that would change their business. Or if it is depending on the relationship, you could say, I'm making these 3 changes. So I would definitely make sure in the scope of work for this project, you were very specific about the time and the outcome that they're going to get from the project. Okay. So for the automation piece, what I would be looking at, again, you would be sitting down with them in that conversation and listening for that pain point that might be taking up a lot of time, or they may be spending a lot of money on a very expensive person to help with this very tedious, repetitive type of task. Most common what I see is it is something around leads that they're coming in. I'm getting these leads and maybe they're getting them from a consultant and I don't know what the value is of these leads or what to do with them. So I would be then looking at their business. I would set up the framework of what I would be going in, which part of their business I was going to be looking at. So if it is marketing, I'm only looking at their marketing. And do I need to tag these as they're coming in and then move them to the CRM? That one kind of like 1 or 2 steps of automation, I would include that. And then providing them back a training documentation on what I did for that automation, because you would probably be integrating something like Zapier. So you'd want to give them the information of exactly what you did. So, because if you aren't brought on board to consistently make those changes, you would need to be able to give them the documentation on what you did so someone else could monitor it. But that's also a great lead in to you having a longer relationship with them. Aubrey, I knew I was going to get the pricing question. This one is this really depends on your level of expertise and how much time you will be spending on these. So you need to do your own kind of worksheet ahead of time before you start offering these products or projects, because you need to know how much time you're actually going to spend in order to price these. Sometimes we're tempted to price them lower because we want to get our foot in the door, but then that scope creep happens. So you have to be very specific on how long or what the outcome is. You have to be very specific on what the outcome is going to be. And then you yourself need to know how much time you're going to invest in this. And so then I would take a look at what is the normal amount I charge per hour, factor that how many hours you think it's going to take. Maybe you're going to add in some time because we know that happens, that one more thing gets added, or depending on what kind of client this is, and then setting it that way. So I can't give you a specific on each one of these, but I would make sure you do your work of sitting down with like your own little worksheet and being, how much time is this going to take? What am I going to include? What does this outcome look like? Yes, Jesse, make sure your contact info is all over whatever you're delivering back to this person. Would it be safe to say that coming out of the intro conversations, you're suggesting a statement of work to the client? I can do X, Y, and Z in this amount of time frame for this dollar amount. So Natalie, that is a great question. And If you have experience with these projects and you feel confident of putting that on the table right away, I think that's absolutely a way to go. But you also don't ever hesitate to say, I want to digest all this information and I'm going to come back to you in 24 hours, 48 hours with some ideas on how we could work together. There's nothing wrong with saying that, because I do think that shows emotional intelligence to say, hey, I need some time to think through this. It lets them know that you're really respecting how complex and interesting their business is. And you want to take some time to make sure all of that, soaks in and that you look at it from different angles. But just make sure that if you say, I'm going to come back to you in 24 hours or 48 hours, you hit that deadline, right? That's what we want to show in that level of professionalism. So either way, I mean, I do think you can get to a point where you have these on your website if that's what you want to do, or you could have these in a document to leave with that client, but it's also completely fine to come back to them at a later point with this information. Because sometimes I like to just sit with it, take a look at what this person would really need to see a result on what I'm going to do. Sometimes they ask for a project that you're like, they're not really going to see the result. And so it might not be worth your time to be working on it. You want to get it to a level where it's going to be a win-win situation. Any more questions there? Okay. So I hope, one more, would it make sense to have pricing sheet and various options, or have you seen that done? Again, if you're very comfortable with this type of project, you've done it before, you're confident in how long it's going to take you, I think then putting that down in black and white is a great idea, because it gives them an idea of how quickly this relationship could get off the ground. If you need more time, though, that you're new to this, I think it's absolutely fine to say, hey, I'm going to take some time and really think through your business model, and then get this back to you within a day or two or a week. It doesn't have to be within 2 days, but I've seen it done both ways. But again, make sure that you're not going to be giving away too much of your time, or that scope creep happens and all of a sudden that website is all of a sudden you redesigning it in a different platform, right? You want to make sure that you can put those boundaries around it. All right, guys. Well, Ashley will be back with us next week on these live sessions. This has been a ton of fun for me to talk about today. If you guys have any more questions around projects, if you're new to the online business management, make sure you're checking out all the resources that we have, whether that's our YouTube channel. Make sure you're getting our newsletter that comes out. We're always giving different ideas around this. I know that we'll be talking a lot more about how AI impacts all of this. And right there, that is a great aspect. And when you're thinking about those automation projects, is what part of AI can you be bringing into businesses now? Think of this also as a great kind of lead generation of just, maybe it's a survey that you're sending out to potential clients, or you're creating a questionnaire about where they could be saving time in their businesses by having projects, right? But we'll be talking a lot more about the AI coming up. So make sure you're watching for those announcements, and we will talk to you next week.